In this episode of the WAC Flashback, we rewind through the players, programs, and games that help shape the conference into one of college basketball's most exciting hoops traditions.
Founded in 1962, the Western Athletic Conference has a dynamic history filled with incredible athletes and landmark championships. This is the WAC Flashback.
The 1960s marked the rise of Western Athletic Conference basketball on the national stage. It was a decade defined by big-time scorers, powerhouse programs, and a Final Four run that helped shape the WAC's early identity. Arizona State set the tone early in the decade, surging to the 1963 Elite Eight. Leading the way was Joe Caldwell, a two-time first-team All-WAC selection, the first WAC player ever drafted, and the number 2 overall pick in 1964. Utah then took center stage as the 1965-66 Utes raced through the season, averaging a staggering 98 points per game. Their run ended in the Final Four, falling to Texas Western, the eventual national champion, but not before Jerry Chambers etched his name into WAC lore. Chambers set multiple single-season scoring records and earned Most Outstanding Player of the Final Four, the only player ever to win the honor from a fourth-place team, after dropping 38 points in the national semifinal. New Mexico rounded out the decade with titles in 1964, 68, and 69. The 1968 Lobos climbed to number 6 in the AP poll, driven by Mel Daniels, a future Basketball Hall of Famer. Daniels was a two-time first-team All-WAC pick who went on to win 2 ABA MVP awards and 3 ABA championships. Just a few years off of winning the national championship, UTEP made an immediate impact after joining the WAC. Led by Hall of Fame head coach Don Haskins, the Miners captured the conference title in their very first season. Haskins would go on to spend 30 years in the league, the longest tenure of any WAC coach, and finished with the most overall wins, the most WAC wins, and his 7 WAC championships remain tied for most all time. One of the greatest guards in NBA history, Nate Archibald, was named first-team All-WAC during the Miners' first season in the conference. Tiny is still the only player to lead the NBA in both scoring and assists in the same season, and is enshrined in both the Basketball and College Basketball Halls of Fame. In Provo, BYU delivered one of the decade's strongest runs, winning WAC titles in 1971, 72, and 79. The Cougars reached the 1971 Sweet 16 and were powered by one of the most influential international players in college basketball history, Kresimir Ćosić. He was a 3-time first-team All-WAC selection, averaging 22 points and 13 rebounds. He later earned induction into both the Basketball and College Basketball Halls of Fame. Arizona State claimed WAC titles in 1973 and 75, with the 75 squad reaching the Elite Eight. Sun Devils star guard Lionel Hollins was a 2-time first-team All-WAC pick, transferring from Dixie State Junior College, which is now WAC member Utah Tech. The roar of the pit defined the decade in Albuquerque as New Mexico captured WAC titles in 1974 and 78. The 74 Lobos reached the Sweet 16, and later in the decade, Michael Cooper emerged as one of the league's premier players. Cooper earned back-to-back first-team All-WAC honors before becoming a 5-time NBA champion, the 1987 NBA Defensive Player of the Year, and a 2024 inductee into the Basketball Hall of Fame. BYU set the early tone in the 1980s, winning WAC titles in 1980 and 88. Powered by one of the greatest players in conference basketball history, Danny Ainge. He still holds the WAC record for most field goals made and ranks 2nd all-time in scoring. He delivered one of March Madness's most iconic highlights in 1981, going coast to coast to beat Notre Dame in the Sweet 16, sending BYU to the Elite Eight.
Inside, Ainge scores!
A Wooden Award winner, All-American, Academic All-American, Major League Baseball player, NBA champion, and All-Star, Ainge helped push WAC basketball into the national spotlight. Utah claimed WAC titles in 1981, 83, and 86, highlighted by a Sweet 16 appearance in 81. The Utes were anchored by Tom Chambers, a three-time All-WAC forward and the 8th overall pick in the 1981 NBA draft. UTEP captured 5 straight WAC titles from 1983 to 87, plus 3 WAC tournament championships. They reached the NCAA second round multiple times, including in 1984, the year they won the first ever WAC tournament. Late in the decade, the Miners unleashed Tim Hardaway, the 1989 WAC Player of the Year, who introduced the world to the UTEP two-step. Hardaway became a 5-time NBA All-Star, Olympic gold medalist, and a Basketball Hall of Famer. Wyoming emerged as one of the WAC's most dangerous postseason teams under head coach Jim Brandenburg. In '87, as a 12 seed, Wyoming stunned the country by beating Virginia and UCLA, led by Reggie Miller, to reach the Sweet 16. That run was driven by the unforgettable Fennis Denbo, who scored 41 points against UCLA, regarded as one of the greatest individual tournament performances in school and WAC history. Utah was a force under head coach Rick Majerus, capturing 6 WAC titles in the 1990s and 3 WAC tournament championships. The Utes made 8 NCAA tournaments in the 90s, highlighted by the 1998 run to the Final Four and the national championship game. Utah also tallied a 1996 Elite 8 and Sweet 16 trip in '91, cementing the program as a national contender. Keith Van Horn rewrote the record book, becoming the WAC's career scoring leader. A 4-time first-team All-WAC pick, 3-time WAC Player of the Year, 2-time Joe Kearney Award winner, and 2-time WAC Tournament MVP, Van Horn became a first-team All-American in 1997 before being drafted 2nd overall. Andre Miller followed with his own star turn. The 1999 WAC Player of the Year, a first-team All-American, and a 2-time first-team All-WAC guard. In the 1998 NCAA tournament, Miller delivered one of the greatest performances March Madness has ever seen. In the Elite 8 against Arizona, Miller recorded a rare NCAA tournament triple-double with 18 points, 14 rebounds, and 13 assists, powering the Utes past the defending national champions and into the Final Four. The Utes then faced top-ranked North Carolina, and once again, Miller led the way with 16 points and 14 rebounds as Utah became the first school in WAC history to reach the men's basketball final game.
You better believe it, Utah is in the national championship game.
In the championship, Utah led by as many as 12 points in the second half, before falling to Kentucky 78-69. At the heart of it all was Coach Majerus, who collected 4 WAC Coach of the Year awards, produced 4 top 10 seasons, and built Utah into a perennial postseason threat. Just down the road, BYU made its own mark on the decade. The Cougars claimed 3 WAC championships and won the 91 and 92 WAC tournaments. BYU also saw the rise of 7'6" sensation Sean Bradley. In just one season, Bradley became a WAC phenom. The Freshman of the Year, WAC Tournament Most Outstanding Player, First Team All-WAC, and the holder of conference records for 177 blocks and 5.21 blocks per game. The 2000s opened with Tulsa, making one of the great runs in WAC history. The Golden Hurricane captured the 2000 WAC title and surged all the way to the Elite 8 as a 7 seed, knocking off UNLV, Cincinnati, and Miami. Led by future Hall of Fame head coach Bill Self, Tulsa became one of the nation's toughest mid-majors, before adding a 2003 WAC tournament title later in the decade. The mid-2000s belonged to Nevada. The Wolfpack ripped off 5 straight regular season championships from 2004 to 08, plus tournament titles in 2004 and 06. Their breakout moment came in 2004, when the Pack, a 10 seed, stunned Michigan State and Gonzaga on their way to the Sweet 16. Nevada made 4 straight NCAA tournaments, fueled by one of the WAC's greatest all-time scorers. Nick Fazekas was a 3-time WAC Player of the Year, 2007 All-American, and the 3rd leading scorer in WAC history. Meanwhile, Fresno State won WAC titles in 2001 and 2003, plus the 2000 WAC tournament, with Basketball Hall of Fame coach Jerry Tarkanian leading the program through 2002. Melvin Ely dominated the league, a 2-time WAC Player of the Year, the WAC's leader in blocks for 3 seasons, and the conference top scorer in 2002. Paul Millsap led Louisiana Tech from 2003 to 2006. The future four-time NBA All-Star earned multiple All-WAC honors, leading the NCAA in rebounding for 3 straight seasons. The 2010s marked a transformative decade of WAC men's basketball as we added new programs and rivalries, which became the calling card of the conference. Utah State captured 4 straight WAC championships from 2008 through 11 and added tournament titles in 2009 and 2011, turning Logan into one of the toughest home courts in the conference. Fresno State produced one of the WAC's most recognizable NBA stars in Paul George. A Bulldog from 2008 to 2010, George earned second-team All-WAC honors in 2010, went on to become a 9-time NBA All-Star, a 2016 gold medalist, and is considered a lock for the Basketball Hall of Fame when his career concludes. The team of the decade was New Mexico State, as the Aggies piled up championships, 6 regular season titles, and 8 WAC tournament crowns, and a staggering 10 NCAA tournament appearances in a 15-year span. The star of the era is the Aggies' Pascal Siakam, the 2016 WAC Player of the Year, 2-time first-team All-WAC selection, 2015 Freshman of the Year, and later an NBA champion and 3-time All-Star. The decade also saw the rise of Grand Canyon, transitioning to Division I and instantly becoming one of the league's premier atmospheres behind coaches Dan Marley and Bryce Drew. The Lopes claimed WAC titles in 2021 and 24, 4 tournament championships, and 4 NCAA tournament appearances, including a 2024 run to the round of 32. Utah Valley also emerged as a modern contender through coaching eras led by Dick Hunsaker, Mark Pope, Mark Madsen, and now Todd Phillips, earning WAC championships in 2014, 2023, and 2025. Through decades of change, from conference realignment to the rise of new programs, the WAC has remained a proving ground for talent, teamwork, and championship basketball.